Well, hello again. So it is insanely early. This is the very final bit of Skulduggery Pleasant. Um, I'm having to upload these at invariably daft times of the day, and this will be the last one, I promise, for today. Here we go. He's a tricky fellow to put down, Skulduggery said. I tried everything, I know, he just kept getting back up. Serpine laughed. There's an old necromancer saying you can't kill what's already dead. Skulduggery cocked his head. Is a zombie? Oh no, I wouldn't associate myself with those wretched things. He can repair, replenish, heal. A difficult process to master, but I am nothing if not accomplished. Of course, Skulduggery said, something new in his voice. The medical equipment in your warehouse. The cleaver was a test run to see if the process worked. Then you did it to yourself. The great detective finally figures something out. Bells and whistles aside, Nefarian, he's nothing but a zombie. So are you. Serpine shook his head. Your last words are pathetic insults. I was hoping for more. Something profound, perhaps, maybe a poem. He raised the sceptre. It will be a slightly less strange world without you. I just want you to know that. Stephanie screamed his name as Skulduggery dived. Serpine left, and the sceptre sent out its bolt of black lightning, but Skulduggery had seized the book of names and held it as a shield. The black lightning hit the book, and it disappeared in a cloud of dust. No! Serpine screamed. No! Doggies don't like me screaming. Hey. I have lots of doggies with me, because like I said, it is very stupidly early, and everyone else is asleep. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm so sorry. We do need to get through this, though. Stephanie stared as the book that the elders couldn't destroy sifted through Skulduggery's fingers. The sceptre fell and rolled away. Serpine's hands closed round Skulduggery's neck, forcing his head back. You've ruined it, he hissed. You ruined it all, you pathetic creature. Skulduggery slammed a fist into Serpine's face and battered the hands away. He stepped in with a jab that rocked the sorcerer's head. Serpine blasted Skulduggery with purple vapour, and Skulduggery was flung far off his feet. He landed on his side and rolled, coming up to his knees as Serpine whipped a tendril out for the sceptre. It sped towards him, but Skulduggery pushed outwards at the air, breaking the tendril and knocking the sceptre off its course. Skulduggery gathered flame in his fist and threw it at Serpine, who barely managed to deflect it. It exploded on the wall behind him, and Serpine hissed again, stumbling away before being launched backwards as air rippled around him. He hit the wall and stayed there, high off the ground, held up by Skulduggery's outstretched hand from across the room. I'll destroy you, he snarled, his emerald eyes blazing with hatred. I destroyed you once. I can do it again. He struggled to raise his right arm. Skulduggery pressed against him, drawing harder on his last reserves. But Serpine refused to be beaten. The fingers of his red hand pointed at Skulduggery. Die, Serpine whispered. Skulduggery inclined his head a little to the right and didn't fall. Serpine's face contorted with rage. Die, he screamed. Skulduggery remained standing. Looks like there's something that hand of yours can't kill after all. A figure moved in the doorway. Serpine's laugh was one of spittle and grittled teeth as the white cleaver appeared. So, you have an immunity to my power. No matter that side of his will shear through bones. You'll be nothing but rubble when he's through with you. Cleaver, attack. But the cleaver stayed where he was, and Serpine's confidence started to ebb. What are you doing? I said, kill him. The white cleaver took another moment and then walked away. Serpine screamed with rage. You lost everything, Nefarian, Skulduggery said. Even your henchman is abandoning you. Even he recognises your defeat. I'm placing you under arrest for murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and I don't possibly know. Littering? Serpine spat. You may never defeat me. I will always find a way to make you suffer. And then his eyes, green, flickered towards Stephanie, still lying on the ground. Don't, Skulduggery said, but Serpine was already moving his hand across his body. Serpine, I said, don't. Stephanie cried out in pain. More than intense than anything she had ever felt, scourged her body. He twisted his fingers and the pain intensified, turning her cry into a scream, turning the scream into silent agony. She curled up, feeling something cold spread from her belly, a welcome numbness cancelling out the pain. It moved into her arms, her legs, it wrapped itself around her heart and seeped into her mind. And now there was nothing, just vague images of Serpine and Skulduggery, a distant voice, Skulduggery calling out her name. But that too was fading. No pain now, no sound, her eyelids fluttering, Serpine with that grin, Skulduggery holding his free hand out, and something moving through the air. Everything moving, so slowly. It was the sceptre. And then it was in Skulduggery's gloved hand, and his fingers were tightening around it. He was raising his arm and pointing the sceptre at Serpine, and the little crystal was starting to glow. It glowed dark, a pretty little darkness, and then the air cracked. The coldness had overtaken her now, the numbness everywhere, and the last bits that made her who she was were gradually drifting away. She didn't care. She didn't mind at all. Let them go. Didn't have a care in the world. Serpine's grinning face, his eyes, his smile, all those teeth. His skin creased in savage pleasure, and now that skin was changing, drying, cracking. Smile fading, emerald eyes losing their gleam, clouding over, and Serpine turned to dust and fell to the floor. And there was a ringing in her ears, and her fingertips tingling. A warmth was rushing back to her, and her heart was beating again. Her lungs sucked in air, and Stephanie gasped. Skulduggery ran over and kneeled beside her. "Are you all right?" he asked, but all she could do was shiver. Her leg twisted, and she hissed in pain, unbearable pain. But suddenly, a good pain. "Come here," Skulduggery said, taking her arm gently. "Let's get you out of here." She put her weight on him, and he carried her, half lifted her out of the chamber and into the corridor. They passed the jail as the door opened, and Tanith toppled out. She hit the ground and groaned. Stephanie looked down at her friend, at all that blood. Tanith raised her head. "Good," she muttered. "You're alive?" Skulduggery reached for her, pulled her carefully to her feet, and, with an arm around each of them, guided them both to the foyer. They climbed the stairs slowly and moved through the waxworks. The rain had stopped, and the ground was wet as they emerged into the night. China Sorrows was standing beside her car, waiting for them. When they were close enough so Stephanie could see the delicate earrings China was wearing, she spoke. "You've seen better days." "Could you use your help?" Skulduggery said as they came to stop. China shrugged her slender shoulders. "I knew you could do it without me. I had faith." "Serpine?" "Dust," Skulduggery said. "Too many places, too many schemes. Sooner or later they'd cancel each other out. That was always his trouble." "How did you manage it?" "He wanted immortality, so he chose death on his own terms, a living death." China smiled. "Ah, and because the sceptre can only be wielded when its previous owner is dead, or in his case, when its owner is the living dead." "I took it, and they used it on him." He held up the sceptre. "Something happened, though. There's no power in it anymore." China took it from him, turning it over in her hands. It was fueled by his hate. Obviously, using it against him made it feed on itself. "Congratulations, Skulduggery. You've managed to break the ultimate weapon. It's nothing but an ornament now." "And an ornament I'd like back," he said, holding out his hand. She smiled, turning her head slightly to look at him out of the corner of her eye. "I'll buy it from you," she said. "Why would you want it?" he asked. "It's worthless." "Sentimental reasons. Besides, you know what an avid collector I am." He said, "Fine, take it." There it was, that smile again. "Thank you. Oh, and the book?" "Destroyed." "How very like you to destroy the indestructible. You have quite an appetite for destruction, don't you?" "China, these bones are weary." "Then I shall leave you." "Bliss is still in there," Stephanie said. "I think he was working against Serpine the whole time. I don't know if he's alive, though. That brother of mine is quite resilient. I've tried to kill him 3 times already, and he just won't stay down. China got into her car, looked at them through the open window. "Oh, by the way, all three of you, congratulations on saving the world." She gave them a beautiful smile, and they watched her drive off. They stood there for a while. The sky was beginning to brighten, the first rays of the morning sun seeping into the black. "You know," Tanner said weakly, "I still have a gigantic hole in my back." "Sorry," Skulduggery said, and helped them both towards the Bentley. Chapter 30. An end, a beginning. Somewhere in Haggard, a dog was barking. A bit like my house most days. Somewhere a driver beeped his horn, and somewhere else people were laughing. It was a Friday night, and music drifted to Stephanie's open window from the bars and pubs on Main Street. Snatches of songs piggybacking on the warm breeze. Stephanie sat in her swivel chair, her foot resting on the bed. Skulduggery had taken her to a friend of his, a cantankerous old man who had mended her broken leg within an hour. It was still stiff and she couldn't walk on it. 2 seconds.